You thought your ex was crazy, manipulative, a gaslighter, narcissistic, okay? But wait until you hear some of these stories. Now, watching the worst ex ever, I must say, trigger warning to everyone watching this video, because we're going to get some deep layers here. I'm going to do some diagnosing. I'm going to teach you guys about some different personality disorders, not the typical ones you hear, okay? We're going to get into Benjamin, okay, and what was really going on up here, and what I gathered as a therapist, and things you should look out on these dating apps, looking for the warning signs of dating somebody with a personality disorder. So let's get into it. But first, I need to thank you guys. We're at 4,000, and I could not have done it without your support, engagement, just everything you guys do for this channel. I really do appreciate it. Now, what should we call y'all? Is it Gym Pop? Do y'all want to be called the Pillheads? Okay, I need some creative little cheeky names that I can call my fans, because right now it's giving Gym Pop, but I'm not sure y'all want to be called that, so I need y'all to let me know in the comments. What should we call y'all? Okay, but make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, do the things, because you never want to miss one of my videos. Now, in episode 1, we come across Benjamin. He is a white male, okay, with a history of DV, jail time, felonies, misdemeanors, and running amok amongst people's lives. Now, in the beginning of this episode, we come across a woman who almost lost her life, okay? And fortunately, she had a friend who came over and decided, what's up with my friend? She not picking up the phone. Let me go over there. And when she came across her house, she heard a woman screaming. And that woman was her bestie, okay? Now, you got to ask yourself, do you have a bestie like this, okay? Who has that sixth sense, who's like, something ain't right, so let me just drive over there and, in this case, save her life, okay? Now, Benjamin was on the run. He went from state to state, causing so much damage. He was in Vegas, and he had multiple victims there, at least the ones who spoke about him kidnapping, strangling, doing so many different things. And I think he got away with this so long because of white privilege. They looked at him, and one of his girlfriends was a black woman. They looked at her. Who is the real victim here? Oh, it must be Benjamin, okay? Even though you ran out the house with no shoes on, you hopped in a random car and was calling 911 saying that he strangled you, you're the problem. And I think that's what's wrong with the police force. One of many things is that when victims come up and they want to speak up, the system only re-triggers them, traumatizes them, and does not take their story seriously. And that was what was so frustrating about watching this first episode, that over and over again, he was able to get away with it because of the system. Now, at one point, while he was waiting for jail time, because at one point he got jail time of 30 months. Okay, he's supposed to do 30 months. Oh, the system. You're rehabilitated. You're okay. Go, be free, man, be free. And what did he do? He got on the maps and he met somebody else, okay? He did a total of 729 days only to come out and ruin somebody else's life. Now, his next victim, he got out, shaved her head, kidnapped her, stole her dog, okay, kept her in the house, did so many different things to him, and eventually the cops came. She was able to escape one day when they went to get groceries. She was running. She ran, okay, and went to the hospital and was able to be okay. But then after that, he went across state lines, ended up in Oregon. And that's how he met his last victim, okay? Now, his last victim, Justine, she found out about him having a criminal record and blew the joint up, okay? They were working together at a bar, and she told on him, and then he started stalking her, okay? Not only that, there were so many people in his life who helped him run from the cops. While this woman is in a hospital bed in a coma, to be honest with you, I wasn't even sure she was alive. I thought we were gonna have a Dateline situation where you see the friends talk about their friend who is no longer with us, but from the shadows, she popped up, and I was like, oh, she alive. Oh, all these people in these stories, these episodes, are gonna be alive. Whew, thank God. Now, as a therapist, my spidey senses were going off. I'm like, is he bipolar? Is it that he is living with borderline personality disorder? He was not no narcissist, y'all. Because I know that's the number one thing that y'all gonna say. He was a narcissist. It goes deeper than that. There are more, personality disorders, cluster A, cluster B disorders that we really don't talk about. And so many people focus on cluster B, which is your antisocial personality disorder, your narcissistic personality disorder, your borderline personality disorders, those ones that have to deal with sudden mood changes. But we don't talk about cluster A. Okay, now I think that Benjamin was someone who had a cluster A personality disorder. And what you'd ask is cluster A. Okay, now cluster A has different diagnoses with sudden personality changes. Now I know I got my notes right. So in my notes, I wrote down these 3 clusters are grouped together because they are characterized by traits that resemble the positive and negative features of psychotic disorders. Now, looking at Benjamin, he is someone who had delusions, hallucinations, sudden mood changes, and I think there are warning signs there, but sometimes we don't go with our gut. We want to go with, well, he changed. And one of his girlfriends did. They broke up after the strangle incident. He said he was going to change. He had them tears on like most men do. And she took him back. She decided one day to go to the bathroom and she left her phone out. And that's when he had the second strangling incident, when he looked at her phone and he snapped. Okay. So for example, in cluster B, the suspiciousness and social symptoms spiral into a psychotic disorder such as schizophrenia. Now, schizoaffective disorder is what I diagnosed Benjamin with. Now, it's similar to schizophrenia, but is not. Okay, now this is ruled by, it's adjacent to schizophrenia, mood disorder, depression, bipolar, hallucination, manic episodes of high energy. So this is a partner that you're going to have who has sudden mood changes. They can be happy one day, they can have episodes, and you see this in a lot of relationships where people have episodes of euphoria, feeling good, and you're like, wow, things are getting better, he seems better, his mood seems better, and then all it takes is one thing, most of the time a manic episode, something triggers them to go right back into that cycle of manipulation, that cycle of thinking that you have done something you haven't. It's the paranoia. And they're dealing with paranoia, and for you, it's like, am I being gaslit? It's his paranoia. And you start to question everything about how you're moving, what you're doing, whether it's something I said. But in reality, it's that this person is dealing with a lot of psychosis and a lot of paranoia. And sometimes we see the diagnosis of bipolar disorder because it takes really someone who is a psychologist, which I am not. That's why these are just my notes, my thoughts as a therapist, that he might have been someone living with schizoaffective disorder, which is a cluster A personality disorder. We talk so much about personality disorders, but we really don't talk about the ones that no one really focuses on. Everyone gets grouped into certain categories. Primarily for me, I see a lot of people talk about cluster B. Oh, she must be a borderline. Oh, he must be narcissistic. Those are the ones you talk about, but there are more layers to it. And I think that Benjamin was someone who had a lot of schizophrenic-like tendencies, a lot of delusions. He was not on medication. And I feel like when he was having one of his episodes, that's when he struck. Okay, he was obsessed with weapons, with guns, with knives. You have to think about, if my partner is obsessed with those things or has a true hobby for guns, I would kind of be like, I don't want to make him mad. I don't want to do nothing that might turn them guns, them weapons my way. Me personally, I don't think I could date somebody who is into weapons as a hobby. You ain't into watching football, no baseball games, tailgating, bowling. Why gotta be guns? Why gotta be weapons? Okay. So he had all these different delusions, and the sad part, many sad parts, is that I feel like he was able to find his victims through these dating apps. And a lot of people go on dating apps with the right intentions, but there are a group of people who go on there for the wrong intentions. And so even while he was waiting for these cases to be pending, he was in and out of county jail in Vegas. He was on the maps looking for his next victim. And he always seemed to pick these women who seemed like I don't want to say that they were naive because that's so negative, but I feel like they genuinely just romanticize wanting a partner, wanting to be in love, really believe the words that he was saying. And I think he had two different sides. Was he a Gemini? He had two different sides. He was his charismatic side. He had that long hair that I think women just fell for. But there was another side behind closed doors that I think sometimes the women did see. But once again, sometimes we don't trust our gut. We get caught up in, maybe it's just me, maybe it's in my mind. But watching different things that Justine went through, the two other women went through, it was just really frustrating, because there is a part of me that wonders if, you know, I hate to say this, but if any of the women were willing to go to court, maybe he would not have been able to get caught up with Justine and have her have a TBI. She had to learn how to walk again, how to talk again. She had to get new teeth. I wonder, but I get it. I get that it's scary. You don't want to have to be in court with the person who did all this stuff to you. Then you have the court system wanting you to relive all the memories. They're saying they're trying to help you. They're trying to convict the person who is your perpetrator. I get all of that. But there's still a sense of, because of the system, the way the system is built, he was able to continue to get away with all of this stuff. Okay, all of the victimization. Now, eventually, you know, while Justine is in the hospital, his last victim, and he's on the run. He killed some people on the run, unfortunately. They were able to track him down. Y'all, and guess where they tracked him down to after, I think, weeks of trying to find him? Under Justine's house. Yes, he was hiding underneath her house. Okay, there were friends, family who helped him hide in the woods, and then they went to the woods and they were able to see him, but then he got away. So he went back to the scene of the crime. And they say most of the time these perpetrators are always at some point back at the scene of the crime. You see in these movies where they have the news, the memorial service, and the person is at the memorial service. I would say 90% of the time, the perpetrator is at these things. Okay, so he goes there, he's hiding underneath the house. They're like, come out. They're throwing bombs in. And eventually they have this robotic dog go in. But at that point, he decides to take his own life. In the end, he was a coward. Okay, he left so many victims, so many people trying to repair, regroup. And if the police had just listened to the women, okay, in the first place. But I want people to think about when they're in relationships with people, look at the signs, the mood swings, the paranoia, the manipulation, okay? Is it just, you know, an episode of just like, maybe it's a one-time thing. He's a little moody. Or are those mood swings depression, bipolar disorder? Could it be something a little bit more like schizoaffective, something on cluster A, cluster B personality disorders? Okay, because so many men, I think, and women are dealing with personality disorders, but we don't talk about it enough in relationships, and how hard it is to be in a relationship with a partner who has some type of personality disorder. Because when it comes to treatment, there's not a lot of treatment. There's only so much medication, there's only so much therapy. But once someone is diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, someone is diagnosed with a personality disorder like narcissism, borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, there's only so much treatment. It's not going to go away. It's just the medication and treatment is a way to help the person diagnosed deal with those things. But then you also have the partner who has to learn how to deal with those things also. So I wanted you guys to see just how hard it is, just how the system really irked me throughout this episode, because if the system had really took the threats, the crimes, the words of these women seriously, I think a lot of people would not be hurting. Okay, but I want to know your thoughts on this episode. Did you watch it? Was it as crazy as I thought it was going to be? Yes. Now, I'm going to recap episode 2, but make sure you guys like and you subscribe to this video, because of course we can get into it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.